Of kids who've been waiting over a year and their wait. Sponsor a child with compassion today. Text the word radio to 83393.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
Rough night for the Dodgers in San Diego. They got pounded 11-1. The Padres had 16 hits off 3 Dodgers pitchers. The Dodgers and Padres wrap up their 3-game series today with a day game. First pitch at 1:10. The Angels beat Oakland 2-1 in 10 innings. First baseman Nolan Shanaway delivered the game-winning hit in the 10th. The Angels and Oakland also have a day game today. First pitch at 1:07 in Anaheim. Chargers head coach Jim Harbaugh confirmed Tuesday that he had 2 surgeries in the offseason, a hip replacement and a cardiac ablation to help his heart maintain a normal heartbeat. The 61-year-old Harbaugh has had episodes of an irregular heartbeat. The NBA Finals resume tonight in Indianapolis. It's Game 3 between the Oklahoma City Thunder and Indiana Pacers. The series is tied at 1-1. Tip-off tonight at 5:30 LA time on ABC. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
LA's newest soul food restaurant is getting spectacular reviews.
Great place with amazing food. The Sunday champagne brunch is fabulous. I saw the place on IG. We tried it for lunch. We were blown away by the food and the service. The restaurant has an inviting atmosphere and a dynamic vibe.
Over the years, Lionel has catered most major Black events in Los Angeles, including all of our KBLA Talk 1580 gatherings. But now he has his own spot, Lionel's Soul Food Cuisine, and you need to check it out at 8501 South Vermont Avenue in Los Angeles. Oxtails, baked or fried chicken, meatloaf, turkey chops, pork chops, catfish, short ribs, and all the fixins. Collard greens, mac and cheese, yams, red beans, black-eyed peas, and more. And of course, hot water cornbread, satisfying drinks, and delicious desserts. Lionel's is a great place for brunch, lunch, or dinner. If it's good enough for us, it's good enough for you, because we've got your black. So, head on over to Lionel's Soul Food Cuisine at 8501 South Vermont Avenue in Los Angeles and tell Lionel you heard about it on KBLA Talk 1580.
I've been around and I've seen some things. People moving faster than the speed of sound, faster than a speeding bullet. People living like Superman all day and all night. And I won't say if it's wrong or I won't say if it's right. I'm pretty fast myself. But I do have some advice to pass along right here in the words of this song. You better not look down. If you want to keep on flying, put the hammer down, keep it full speed ahead. You better not look back, or you might just wind up crying. You can keep it moving, you don't look down.
We're giving you the best of B.B. King all 3 hours of our program today as we celebrate June as Black Music Month. A different artist every day, and we dig into that catalog and give you some of the best of their recordings, and today that person is and has been B.B. King, again, as we celebrate June as Black Music Month. In this hour, just in time for Father's Day, a conversation with Dr. Charles C. Daniels, Jr., co-founder and CEO of the nonprofit organization Fathers Uplift. He has a new text out. It's called Present, the Crisis of American Fatherhood and the Power of Showing Up, and I'm honored to have him on this program. Dr. Daniels, how are you today, sir?
I'm doing good. Thank you for having me today, Tavis.
It's my honor to have you. Let me start at an unlikely place. This initial question might seem a bit unorthodox, but who better than you to ask it? And given your expertise in this area, I'm sure that you can handle it. So I was thinking about this last night. You know, I spend hours every night preparing to come on the air the next day to do this 3-hour show, and I'm talking to a variety of guests. So I need to sound at least like an expert on most of this stuff. So I'm up late every night, preparing myself for the show. And last night I was, reading and researching and preparing for this conversation with you. And I started feeling some sort of way. To call it a feeling of melancholy would be putting too much on it. But I started feeling a certain kind of way, and I had to really just wrestle with myself about why I was feeling this thing, whatever it was, specifically as I was preparing for this conversation with you. And then it hit me. Over the course of my career, I've had any number of conversations about fatherhood, specifically about black fatherhood, and about being present, and all the stuff you talk about so beautifully and eloquently in your text. But every time I have these conversations, I feel some sort of way because it makes me feel like the conversation itself is adding to the national narrative that most black fathers are not present, that most black fathers just don't show up. So I wasn't going to cancel you coming on the show today at the last minute, given how I felt in my stomach last night. I felt in the pit of my stomach last night. But I do want to honestly and earnestly start our conversation here and ask you to help me navigate my feeling. I'm in my feelings right now about having another conversation where it feels to me like I'm just aiding and abetting this narrative, this notion that most black fathers just don't show up. So I'm going to lay down on your couch for a second, let you help me with that, and then we'll jump straight away into the text.
Absolutely. It's definitely a conflict that occurs when we look at the work that we do and the conversation that we're bringing to this country and the world. And one thing that I tell people all the time, I'm a great father and I show up every day for my children. And I know many black men that do, but there's some brothers like me that want to show up, but just can't. And they need the help. And I felt like, for me, how do I reconcile it when I think about this point? Because there are conflicts often that just because I'm successful at doing it doesn't mean that there isn't a brother that looked like me that wants to do the same thing that I'm doing. And if I can support him and get into that point to be there for his children, I've done my job. And then I thought about my dreams, Tavis, when I was a young kid. And when I was a kid and I was thinking about what I want to be when I grow up, one of the things I did not want to be was a deadbeat dad. I don't know any father that dreams of saying, hey, I want to be absent from my kid's life. I do know that there are fathers who are currently absent that want to be present just like me, wake up in the morning and see their kids every single day, that just can't for various reasons. And that's why we're here to help them do that. So for me, I kind of find it helpful to reconcile that, to say, hey, there's dads like me and there's dads that want to be like me. And how do we make sure that dads want to be like me can actually be like me? And that's the piece that I try to focus on more than the national narrative and the narrative that says, hey, black dads are absent. And let's be clear. Some people weaponize our struggles in the black family against us. And the part of that national narrative that, hey, black dads are absent is weaponized and used against us. But that's not the position that we're taking. We know that all dads want to be the best they can be, even in the midst of their absence and their struggles.
So I received that. Unpack this phrase to me that you used a couple times now. Black fathers who want to be present but can't. They want to be there, and not just black fathers, fathers period, who want to be there but can't. What does that mean?
Wow, that's a great question. For me, it means that oftentimes, we see black dads being present, then we see black dads that aren't present when they're absent, and we just don't see what's going on. For me, I think about that statement as reflection and praising the fact that, and when I say praise, meaning acknowledging the fact that maybe I'm not seeing that dad because he's struggling with health issues, such as many of the dads that we work with. They're not present physically for their children because they're struggling with their physical health, on the verge of dying due to various serious health conditions or substance use related issues, dads that are experiencing severe substance use addiction, but they can't necessarily defeat that addiction to be present for their children. So when I think about those dads that are experiencing those struggles, they want to be present, but because of those health challenges, mental health challenges, substance use related challenges, physical health challenges, they just can't realize the potential that they've always dreamed of realizing.
Yep. The book is called Present, The Crisis of American Fatherhood and the Power of Showing Up. We'll talk about the power, to be sure, of showing up, but we're going to start when we come forward talking about the crisis. I'm going to let Dr. Daniels unpack what the crisis really is, since that's the word he chose for his book. You're listening to Dr. Charles C. Daniels, Jr. on Tavis Smiley.
And in that Rolls Royce was the Queen of England, looking tired, just got back from a party. And the Queen leaned out and she said, "Aren't you B.B. King?" She said, "Oh, B.B., sometimes it's so hard to pull things together. Could you tell me what you think I ought to do?" And I said, "You better not If you wanna keep on flying, put the hammer down. Keep it full speed ahead.
From California to the Carolinas, everybody's listening to Tavis. More when we come forward.
Progressive Home Quote Explorer lets you easily compare rates, so shopping for insurance might be the easiest part of owning a home. Definitely easier than this.
Psst, honey. Honey! What? Shh, there's a salesman walking up the driveway.
Oh no, he's got a clipboard.
What do we do?
Get down.
Down?
On the floor, you...
Shoot, did he see us?
Why are you breathing so loud?
Home ownership isn't easy, but with Progressive's Home Quote Explorer, shopping for home insurance is. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company affiliates and third-party insurers. Comparison rates not available in all states or situations. Prices vary based on how you buy.
Make a move into a home of your own. With City National Bank's Ladder Up Home Loan Grant, you could receive up to $20,000 that you never need to pay back. Use it toward your down payment, save on closing costs, or to buy down your mortgage rate. Find out more at cnb.com/ladderuphome. City National, here for every stage of the journey. Property must be in a qualifying market in California, New York, or New Jersey. Additional terms and conditions apply. Not all applicants will qualify. Terms are subject to change without notice. City National Bank is an equal housing lender. Member FDIC. NMLS number 536994.
Attorney advertising. Prior results do not guarantee future outcomes.
Founded in Los Angeles in 1986, litigation powerhouse Quinn Emanuel has deep roots in the Los Angeles community. Since 2007, we have litigated some of the largest fires on the West Coast. We are proud to be the only AmLaw 100 firm in the country to represent wildfire victims, giving affected individuals, families, and businesses the same focus and individualized attention we devote to our Fortune 500 clients. BTI Consulting has repeatedly recognized Quinn Emanuel as among the 4 law firms in-house counsel least liked to oppose in any litigation, and we are often deemed the most feared. And after securing over $80 billion for our clients in various matters firm-wide, we understand why. If you have been affected by the recent wildfires in Altadena and the Palisades and would like to discuss your situation further, please contact wildfire support at QuinnEmanuel.com or call us at 213-443-3050. Quinn Emanuel is proud to sponsor Conversation Live Altadena Rising with James Farr on KBLA Talk 1580.
Attorney advertising. Prior results do not guarantee future outcomes.
KBLA Talk 1580 congratulates Pastor and Mrs. William Sachs Epps on their retirement from stewardship at the historic Second Baptist Church. Dr. Epps has faithfully served Second Baptist as its senior pastor for 37 years. What a legacy of love and leadership. Pastor and Mrs. Epps will be honored at a luncheon on Saturday, July 26, 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. at the Sheraton Universal Hotel in Universal City, and you're invited to attend. Noted scholar Dr. Michael Eric Dyson is the keynote speaker. For ticket information, please contact epsretirement@gmail.com or call 213-399-2103. That's epsretirement@gmail.com or call 213-399-2103. To Pastor Epps and First Lady Epps, congratulations from all of us at KBLA Talk 1580.
Freedom is an endless meeting. So let's get back to it with Tavis Smiley.
I got a gal who's always late anytime we have a date, but I love her. Yes, I love her. I'm gonna walk up to her gate and see if I can get it straight, 'cause I want her. I'm gonna ask her, is you is or is you ain't my baby?
It's the best of BB King on Tavis Smiley. We continue our celebration of June as Black Music Month, and our featured artist today is BB King and has been all 3 hours of this program. Our guest in this hour is Dr. Charles C. Daniels Jr. His book is called Present, The Crisis of American Fatherhood and the Power of Showing Up. I confessed at the top of this conversation, in case you've just tuned in, these conversations are always tricky for me because I always feel some sort of way about adding to the narrative that black men across this country just don't show up as fathers. And while there certainly are those who, as Dr. Daniels said, want to be there and can't, the majority of black fathers, like the majority of other fathers, do in fact show up. And so I'm always in my feelings about whether I want to even do these conversations and add to this narrative again that we just don't show up. I digress on that, and I'm in the conversation nonetheless, and I'm delighted to celebrate again his new book called Present: The Crisis of American Fatherhood and the Power of Showing Up. So let's go straight in, Dr. Daniels. Tell me first of all about the crisis. What is this crisis?
Absolutely. So I would say that the crisis is essentially embedded in various obstacles that make it difficult for fathers in general to show up even more than how they're already showing up. We think about mass incarceration. If a father is behind bars, doesn't mean that he's less likely to be a good father. How can he continue to be a part of his children's life? When we look at the opioid epidemic affecting many men, right? How do we make sure that we have the resources in place to support them? We're looking at the various obstacles that are preventing fathers from showing up. Today, 1 in 4 children are growing up in the U.S. without their fathers present. Typically, we look at only absence, but we need to look at the factors that are contributing to absence, which have been mainly my focus: mental health and substance use related challenges, as well as divorce, mass incarceration, and many other obstacles that make it difficult. So the obstacle is, how do we get the fathers, how do we acknowledge the issues that prevent fathers from showing up even more than what the fathers are showing up today? And the crisis for us is realizing, hey, father presence is definitely a true thing, but also father absence due to these obstacles is another thing that we have to grapple with.
You've said this a few times now, and it just occurred to me that unless I ask you to unpack it, which I'm getting ready to do right now, this statement that you've made could be more assumptive than actual, than actual, and I don't want it to be that way. I want the actual, not the assumptive. So you said that there are fathers who want to be there but can't. How do we know? Where's the evidence that any absent father really wants to be there? Let's move from assumption to actual.
Well, that's a great point. That's a great point. So when I think about the mass incarceration rates, right, and we look at specifically how those incarceration rates affect primarily Black populations, we make up a substantial portion of the population behind bars, but yet, when we look at where we are in society, it just doesn't make sense how a good portion of us are incarcerated more than any other race, right? Specifically, when we look at the research pertaining to those men behind bars, we recognize the experiences that they've had that have led to incarceration, but we also recognize that a good portion of them are fathers themselves. And what we know about fathers in general, regardless of where they are in society, every father, majority of the fathers, want to be the best they can for the people that they care about. It kind of falls into the assumption of what society says makes a great father, right? Providing and being present and showing up, right? Every father that we believe, right, wants to be a provider and be a part of their children's lives. So just looking at the obstacle in general, I think when it comes to mass incarceration, I think that's a clear indication that there are fathers behind bars. And when you look at the policies that are connected to visitation and seeing your children while you're behind bars, there are limitations and barriers there that prevent fathers from being able to be present in kids' lives while they are behind bars. Also, the opiate epidemic. We do know that specifically when it comes to Black men, opiate overdoses due to fentanyl exposure and opiates are killing a substantial portion of Black men. We are seeing opiate death rates decrease substantially. Nonetheless, when it specifically comes to the Black population, we see that opiates are killing Black men at alarming rates and that we are doing better, but there's still a problem that we have to address. We look at that obstacle actually being another indicator that a lot of people that are dying due to these overdoses are men and our fathers themselves. That's a clear example of a barrier that we have to address as a nation. That will contribute to what we say about father absenteeism. Also, divorce rates. There was a new study that came out by economists, specifically not necessarily focusing on fathers by themselves, but any parent that experiences a divorce. They looked at the data when it comes to the Social Security data and divorce rates data, and they found that the outcomes, what happens to those children that experiences divorces before, I would say from 5 between the ages of 15, end up being very harsh, such as they're at risk of getting pregnant early, right? Also, there's a decline in their potential to make income due to what happened in those divorces. So, we're seeing in various levels, right? But I'm specifically talking about obstacles that we know there's data that really backs up and contributes to what we say, hey, father absenteeism exists due to these things that are impacting society at alarming rates.
As you talk about barriers and obstacles, my mind goes to a conversation I had on this program, I guess a week or two ago. Here we are once again in another Republican administration where they're going after welfare and making it the boogeyman. Ronald Reagan called them welfare queens, and so Donald Trump and his administration once again going after the welfare program. And you know as well as I do that for years there have been these rules that if you receive public assistance, your baby daddy, as we commonly say, cannot be in the house. So there are, to your point, all kinds of barriers and obstacles that prevent certain fathers who want to be there from being there. And I want to come directly to this and ask you to indict civil society, indict government, indict whoever you will indict beyond these fathers for putting up barriers and obstacles to keep fathers away from their children.
Absolutely. And Tavis, I would even add mass deportation
Sure.
to the equation, right?
I like
We
that.
see what's happening as a nation.
Yep.
There's going to be a substantial increase in absenteeism due to mass deportation. And the piece that I'm saying is, yes, these things exist, but we also have to exist. We also have to deal with the trauma that's connected to these systemic inequities and barriers that make it difficult for parents to be present due to the Trump administration's decisions, mass deportation, civil society, as you mentioned earlier. It contributes to this notion of absenteeism and to our assumption that no parent dreams of being absent from their kid's life. These things happen, and then on the back end, we have to address the trauma that contributes to this whole notion. Well, that happens due to these things occurring.
Yep. We're talking about absentee fathers or absenteeism among fathers in this country. But that to me is not disconnected. Again, reading a lot of stuff last night, preparing for this conversation. That reality, that conversation which you tackle in your book, Present, The Crisis of American Fatherhood and the Power of Showing Up, that reality of absenteeism cannot be disconnected from the crisis of male adolescence. So it seems to me you got two crises that are connected. Does that make sense?
Yes, for sure.
Yeah. Tell me more then about the way in which this conversation about fathers being there or not being there impacts the crisis of male adolescence.
Wow, that's a great question. You know, when I think about the crisis of male adolescence, I do think that in order for us to really get at the root of that crisis, we have to get at the root of what it means to be a male, right? What does it mean to be a male specifically in America? And what does it mean to be present, right?
Right.
I do believe that typically when absence occurs, there's a struggle in male adolescents to really understand their identity and understands what's good and what's bad. I believe that men contribute to that, but there's a very complex situation where we have to really articulate what does it mean to be a male in the U.S. and what does it mean to navigate as a male in the midst of all of these circumstances that adolescent will end up being exposed to due to things that he can control and mostly due to things that he has no control over.
Yeah. I take your point, and for the moment, I want to agree with you that young men of color, black folk in particular, want to be good dads. And I take your point that it takes more than a strong will to make that desire a reality. I agree with all of that. What I want to wrestle with now just for a second here is how black men in particular learn how to be great fathers. I'm asking this because I lost my father last year. We're coming up on Father's Day, and I lost my father just last year, so I'm still missing him in ways I can't even describe to you. And certainly on any given day, I have a moment just missing my dad. My dad never sat down and talked to me about, the X, Y's, and Z's of being a great father. Now, I guess the answer to this question could ostensibly be, if you have a great father, then you emulate your father. You watch your father be a great father, and by watching, that helps you become a great father. I don't know. You tell me how it is that young men of color learn. Who's teaching them? Where are they getting the clues and the cues about how to be a great father, Dr. Daniel?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I could speak definitely from my experiences, from the experience of many men that I've served over the years. I've been privileged to serve over the years. My father was married to his wife. My mother was a outside woman, so I couldn't get that experience from him and having him in my life. But what my mom did so graciously was she surrounded me with other men that I could get that experience from. And as I grew older, I realized, and as I was writing this book, Tavis, I realized that I had many fathers, not just one,
Oh, yeah.
many fathers my mother exposed me to who taught me different things. And I think when I think about young men and men coming up, it's good to have your father, but it's also good to acknowledge the men that are teaching you the important aspects of being a father, such as how to tie a tie, how to care for somebody, how to look someone in the eye and introduce yourself, how to just be a present person in society and contribute to your community. I was fortunate to be exposed to many men that gave me different things that my father could not give me. And I think that's very important when it comes to rearing young men how to be fathers, right? We have to begin exposing them to different characteristics of what it means to be a man in society. And we do that by creating and introducing them to different members of their village, community. I was fortunate to have the deacons at the church and the pastors in the church,
Oh, yeah.
other men, teachers, and things like that. I think that's very important. And to be honest with you, my father didn't do it, but there were many fathers that did, right? I'm married today because I witnessed healthy marriages and men in healthy marriages. So for me, I believe that's very important to being a father, but I think we have to acknowledge that those things exist, whether the father is present or the father is experiencing his own struggle that's preventing him from being engaged. So that's how I look at fatherhood and becoming a father, even when your father is absent physically and emotionally.
Yep. I want to put you, excuse me, I want to put you on the spot here and ask you what most troubles you. There may be more than one thing, but I'm curious as to what most troubles you about the ways in which we have this conversation about fatherhood, particularly Black fatherhood. What most troubles you about the way we have this conversation? What's missing from this conversation? What assumptions are we making? What mistakes are we making when we have this broad conversation about fatherhood in Black communities? What most troubles you and concerns you about the way we do this?
Yeah, I think one of the first assumptions for me that really that I struggle with funders that fund our work and
Right.
funders that don't fund our work, that turn them off from the work, and even with women, mothers, is that because I work with fathers, they assume I don't care about mothers. I think that's a huge assumption. And I think when you look at the work, Tavis, and when it comes to fatherhood work and motherhood work, there are silos between the two entities, right? And I do think that part of it is competitive in terms of funding and in terms of can you really support mothers and support fathers at the same time. The other part of it is that there's internal traumas that drive people to do motherhood work and fatherhood work that interferes with them being able to work together, and they acknowledge the importance of both being equal in terms of doing great work. Grew up in a household with a single mother. I value mothers. My wife is a mother, right? But typically the assumption is often that I don't care about mothers because I'm working with fathers. And that's one thing that we have to understand is that you can care for mothers and still work with fathers, and vice versa. You can care for fathers and still work with mothers. I think that's something that we have to address. I think the second piece for me, which is very hard, is that we have to be able to understand the importance of not assuming that everyone wants to be the worst of themselves every single time. I feel like when it comes to the pressures that are put on men to be fathers and be men in society, those pressures oftentimes, I would say, lead to people making premature assumptions about what they do, how they care, what they don't care about, without them being able to understand their full stories. I believe there's multiple moving pieces to one story. We have to take time to understand what's going on with a man or a woman in the middle of their story. The assumptions for me are definitely unbearable at times, but hey, that's why we're doing the work. Those are two things that really stand out to me the most.
No, I appreciate that. I say all the time that none of us, my friend Brian Stevenson, none of us are our worst deeds. None of us are our worst acts. That's the way Brian Stevenson puts it. I put it this way. Some of us is not the sum of us. The S-O-M-E of us is not the S-U-M of us. And so I'm simpatico with you in that last and powerful point that you made. I was fascinated when I got this book. Again, the book is called Present, The Crisis of American Fatherhood and the Power of Showing Up. I was fascinated when I opened the book. Some pages fell out. And it turns out that Dr. Daniels has included in this book a self-assessment for healing relationships and connecting with your kids. There's a self-assessment here. I read this thing last night, and I did the test myself. So I want to talk about this self-assessment that he includes in his book for each of us, no matter who you are. There's a self-assessment test that comes inside the book that you can take, and we'll talk about that part when we come forward on Tavis Smiley.
This is getting good. Yeah, man. Tavis Smiley continues when we come forward.
with BIN News Now. A black man from Michigan was arrested after allegedly calling in a fake bomb threat to Spirit Airlines for missing his flight.
We have a situation, so we unfortunately are going to have to deboard this aircraft, and everybody's going to have to be rescreened.
FBI agents say 23-year-old John Charles Robinson admitted to the hoax at Detroit Metropolitan Airport. He's due back in court later this month. Ron Bell, convicted of murdering Black Baton Rouge civil rights leader Sadie Roberts Joseph in 2019, will be sentenced August 7th. Bell was a former tenant of the deceased and faces a mandatory life sentence after a jury found him guilty of second-degree murder. And funk rock legend Sly Stone has died at 82. His family says he passed peacefully after a long battle with COPD. Stone, frontman of Sly and the Family Stone, leaves behind a legacy of hits that shaped generations of music. There is a Sly Stone playlist on the iHeartRadio app live right now. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Right now, there are young people across the world facing a tough choice. Continue their dream of education or drop out to help their family put food on the table. You can help change their future in a single moment. See how far your support can go at unbound.org.
Is this the time? This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
Rough night for the Dodgers in San Diego. They got pounded 11-1. The Padres had 16 hits off 3 Dodgers pitchers. The Dodgers and Padres wrap up their 3-game series today with a day game. First pitch at 1:10. The Angels beat Oakland 2-1 in 10 innings. First baseman Nolan Shanaway delivered the game-winning hit in the 10th. The Angels and Oakland also have a day game today. First pitch at 1:07 in Anaheim. Chargers head coach Jim Harbaugh confirmed Tuesday that he had 2 surgeries in the offseason, a hip replacement and a cardiac ablation to help his heart maintain a normal heartbeat. The 61-year-old Harbaugh has had episodes of an irregular heartbeat. The NBA Finals resume tonight in Indianapolis. It's Game 3 between the Oklahoma City Thunder and Indiana Pacers. The series is tied at 1-1. Tip-off tonight at 5:30 LA time on ABC. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
We got a lot to talk about.
I'm Reverend Gerald, the life coach. Is someone you love struggling with addiction and mental illness? Is improving your family's health important? Want to leave a legacy that your family can grow? Are you ready to enhance your perception of life experiences? Then wake up weekends at 7 a.m. with Urban Family Focus and get the wisdom, opportunity, resources, and motivation to live your best life. Join the conversation on Urban Family Focus Saturday and Sunday at 7 a.m.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black. This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580.
Paid for by government.com. Did you know? The United States Mint has issued a new Morgan silver dollar coin in proof condition for the first time. Not only that, they are also minted in 99.9% pure silver for the first time ever in history. Coin experts are calling this an amazing opportunity for anyone that knows the enduring popularity of Morgans. But you must hurry. Only 400,000 of these legal tender silver dollars were issued. These first ever Morgan silver dollars are brand new with stunning mirror-like finish, minted by the iconic San Francisco Mint. Call now and you're guaranteed a new first ever 99.9% pure silver proof Morgan dollar. To learn more, call 1-800-973-9717. If you order now, you will receive a free coin collector bonus pack, a $25 value, free with every order. Call 1-800-973-9717 now to secure your new Morgan silver dollars before they are gone. That's 1-800-973-9717.
1 2 1 2 1 2. You ready?
Somebody make some noise in this joint.
KBLA Talk 1580 celebrates its 4th anniversary this year on Juneteenth.
Here we go again.
Hard to believe 4 years has gone by so fast.
Oh my God.
But here we are, still standing, still loving and serving our people as best we can.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
To celebrate our 4th anniversary, we have 4 big events, and you're invited to all of them.
She got a lot to say. Let's do this.
Let's get it on.
On Wednesday, June 18th, we go live on C-SPAN for the second consecutive year with our Climate Justice plus Black Health Symposium. Tavis Smiley will moderate an all-star panel of thinkers and influencers as we continue our vitally important climate justice work.
Hey, Tavis Smiley, talk about.
On Thursday, June 19th, you're invited to join us as we celebrate Juneteenth and our 4th anniversary. There will be plenty of food, fun, great music, good vibes, and all of your favorite KBLA Talk 1580 hosts will be there.
Yeah, man.
Flip the beat. On Saturday, June 21st, there are 2 big events you're invited to attend.
I can't wait to hear it.
This year, KBLA Talk 1580 continues its annual partnership with the Empowerment Congress for a community celebration and dialogue to educate, engage, and empower. This year's theme is resilience in the face of chaos.
Can't wait to see what's up next.
Y'all ain't ready for this.
And new this year is our State of Black Women in Los Angeles Symposium, moderated by Dominique DePrima, with a luncheon to follow. Dominique will be leading a dialogue with some of the most impactful Black women leaders in Los Angeles, and you're invited to join.
This is it.
All of these events are free, but seating is limited, so you must register in advance at our KBLA1580.com website, where you can find all the details you need about each event.
Check it out.
It's our 4th anniversary, and we would love to celebrate it with you.
I love you guys so much. There's nothing you can do about it.
We're KBLA Talk 1580.
The only black talk radio station west of the Mississippi.
Thank you for having our black.
Happy anniversary, KBLA.
We love you. Love you.
Less monologue, more dialogue. Tavis Smiley continues right now.
Like you don't wanna listen when I'm talking to you. You think you ought to do, baby, anything you wanna do. You gotta be crazy, baby. Just gotta be out of your mind. As long as I'm paying the bills, I'm paying the cost. Be the boss.
B.B. King on Tavis Smiley. As we continue celebrating June as Black Music Month, he has been our artist in residence all 3 hours of our program today, sounding as good as ever. The King of the Blues, B.B. King. Our guest in this hour is Dr. Charles C. Daniels Jr. He has a new book out called Present, The Crisis of American Fatherhood and the Power of Showing Up. I was saying moments ago when I got this book some days ago to read in preparation for this conversation, I opened up the book and out fall these pages. And I looked at it, and it turns out that he has, I think very wisely and very shrewdly, included in this book, or inside the book, a self-assessment for healing relationships and connecting with your kids. And so I went through this thing last night, Dr. Daniels, knowing I was going to talk to you today. Talk to me about where this idea came from for this self-assessment, and then tell me the value of the test itself.
Absolutely. The idea came from the experiences of many of the men I've been privileged to serve. Every time we talk, they talk about their experience with their own father, but have not been able to connect how those experiences have interfered with the way that they father and even think about fathering. So I think the value here is for them to really look at the quality or lack of quality of those relationships and look at who they want to be to their children. And that's why we create the tool.
Let me just tell you more about this tool because I found it really, really fascinating. So it starts with names. Name the father or father figure you'll be using to reflect on during your self-assessment. Then you go to part 1. Reflecting on your childhood memories, how frequently did your father or father figure exhibit any of the following behaviors? 1, spent time with you. 2, hugged you. 3, said I love you or I care about you. 4, taught you lessons about what it meant to be a man. 5, taught you lessons about what it meant to be a father. 6, displayed affection toward the other parent or parent figure. 7, participated in activities with you. 8, spent holidays with you. 9, taught you how to treat a life partner. Then you jump to part 2. How did you feel, or did you feel comfortable, rather, sharing your thoughts and feelings with the father or father figure? Did you feel proud to have the father or father figure in your life? Did you want to be just like them when you grew up? Those are some of the questions on this test. And so as I went through this, you got me wrestling with myself, man, and my father, answering some of these questions. So obviously you do this all the time. So when you take the self-assessment, then there's a way to there's a chart here where you score yourself, and once you are in a particular scoring range, it tells you what this means. So tell me a bit more about the way you use this self-assessment and what comes out of it.
Absolutely. So a lot of the questions on here are based on things that we found that many men struggle with, whether it's displaying affection or they're having a hard time with really placing their emotion in healthy places as opposed to with people by harming them. So we wanted to make sure that we really ask these questions and look at where they get those lessons from. I think when we think about the concept and how do we use the information from the assessment in our work, what we do is continue to assess and reassess where we are based on our work with the men that we are serving. And we found that, hey, maybe there's men that don't want to go to therapy. They just want to look at their situation and work on themselves. Just like we provide care in a therapeutic setting, we wanted to give a tool, create this tool for men to be able to do this type of self-assessment work with themselves, regardless if they're in therapy or not. And we hope that, individuals will find it beneficial because they'll get to see what it is that they actually experience and how they're looking at themselves and the ones they love through their self-assessment of themselves.
As I mentioned, once you take the test, and I just ran through the 12 questions that are on the test, you end up with a score range of either 0 to 12, 13 to 24, 25 to 36. And that's broken up into three different score ranges. Either you had low engagement with your father or father figure. You had moderate engagement with your father or father figure. You had high engagement with your father or father figure. I can tell you what my number was, Dr. Daniels, with my father. But when you finish and you end up in one of these three categories, as you work with these fathers around the country, what do these score ranges of low engagement, moderate engagement, or high engagement tell you about the father that you're working with?
Wow, that's a great question. So when it comes to the low engagement, what that tells me is that there's a defense mechanism that they have pulled on that's been connected to their experiences with their dads that's interfering with their relationship, the quality of their relationship with their children. And the goal then becomes, how do we make sure that you create the version of the father that you want to be and not be led by the version of the father that you received that hurt you when you were a child? So that's when that therapy piece comes into with the low engagement. Same for moderate engagement, but with moderate engagement, we have at least some positivity to work with where they can recall and reflect on their positive experiences with men. When it comes to the high engagement, that's more so maintenance, really pick it up on adopting and continuing to utilize those same skills of with your children that was passed on to you by your own father, the person that you reflected on that you really appreciate. But low to moderate is all about redefining what fatherhood is for you and not being controlled by the fatherhood that you experienced when you were younger. And that's the whole goal of the assessment. How do we make sure that you're not repeating these generational patterns with your children?
Yep. Once you take that self-assessment, as I did again last night, you end up in part 2 of this exercise, if I can put it that way, which is called listening to your inner child. Once you understand whether or not you were in the low engagement, moderate engagement, or high engagement with your father or father figure, then you get passed on to this second part of this process called listening to your inner child. I want to let Dr. Daniels unpack that part for us when we come forward on Tavis Smiley.
Generous listening. Charitable listening. It's why everybody wants to talk to Tavis. The conversation continues when we come forward.
We ask seniors how to prevent Medicare scams.
My best advice, if you get a phone call, do not talk to the person. These people are well trained. Don't talk to them.
They don't know me. They're just trying to scam me.
Don't be fooled. Hang up. Just hang up.
Never give out your Medicare number.
They're going to get your number to put in a false claim.
If I get a call from someone, I don't pick up the phone. And should I pick up the phone and they ask for information, then I hang up.
How do you detect Medicare fraud?
Just like I check my credit card statements, I check my Medicare statements monthly.
Scammers can get a hold of your number, order medical devices through your account, and you're not even going to know about it if you don't look at your statement. Check your statement every month.
If you get your statement and you see something that you know you did not have done, you report it.
Call your senior Medicare Patrol.
To report Medicare fraud, call the Senior Medicare Patrol at 855-613-7080.
Pasadena City College is proud to support Conversation Live Altadena Rising with James Farr. For over 100 years, PCC has been a pillar of the community, and we're here for you as we work together to recover from the Eaton fire and rebuild Altadena's future. At PCC, we offer diverse career education programs that prepare you for in-demand jobs, fueling both today's recovery and tomorrow's growth. Whether you're starting a new career or advancing your skills, PCC gives you tools to build your future and your community. Pasadena City College, here for the Dena, here for you. Learn more at pccfordena.com.
Hey there, Los Angeles. This is James Lucky Jr., publisher and editor of Los Angeles News Observer. Are you hungry for news that matters to you in the African-American communities of Los Angeles? Well, buckle up, because we got the scoop you've been craving. Stay in the know and never miss a beat with our free weekly publications conveniently available near you. Or hop on the digital wave and become an exclusive subscriber at OGNSC.com. Don't forget to join the party on Instagram and Twitter at OGNSCINC for behind-the-scenes access and sizzling updates. No more FOMO. Let's stay informed, connected, and empowered together.
BET and PBS, The Tom Joyner Morning Show, and NPR, the cover of Jet and the cover of Time. #1 on the New York Times bestsellers list, 20 honorary doctorate degrees, a dozen NAACP Image Awards, a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, a Presidential Lifetime Achievement Award. From talk shows to talk radio, nobody's ever done it better. You like that? This is Tavis Smiley. More honesty than you can handle. More empowerment than you can imagine. You're tuned in to Tavis Smiley.
Tavis Smiley and Dr. Charles C. Daniels Jr. There are two things making me laugh, Dr. Daniels. One, I'm looking at a text message that just came through from my friend. He knows who he is. I ain't going to call his name. But I think he's a great father. He says, Tavis, I have very high engagement. That's why my sons are nuts. Hilarious, especially if you knew this guy, but I have very high engagement, and that's why my boys are nuts. But I love that people are listening, and they're following along with this self-assessment test. That's great engagement. Speaking of engagement, Dr. Daniels, people are listening across the country and following us as we take this self-engagement test. That's the first thing that made me laugh. The second thing that made me made me laugh and also arrested me was we had a spirited conversation here in the studio with my team. Miles, my board op, and Faraji, my producer, were here, and we were talking, and they came to the studio and asked me, Tavis, do you think your father was a better father for you or your younger siblings? And I said, dang, anybody ever asked me that question? I'm one of 10 kids. I'm the eldest son, right? And I thought about it, and I said, it's fascinating. The answer to that question as to whether I think my father was a better father for me or my younger siblings is yes and no. And here's what I said to them very quickly. He was a better father in the sense that as my father got older, and we all have to do that dance with mortality, he got older, he started having grandkids. My father became a big teddy bear. That ain't the dad I grew up with. He was so loving. He would tell his grandkids all the time how much he loved them. He would tell my younger brothers all the time how much he loved them. He didn't do that with me. I watched my father sacrifice and struggle so I could intuit that my father loved me, but my father didn't tell me all the time that he loved me. Speaking of this self-assessment test, as he got older, he started telling my younger siblings, all my nieces and nephews, and of course, he told me that. So near the end of his life, my father was much more open to telling me verbally and hugging me and telling me how much he loved me. I didn't get that growing up like my younger brothers did. So that's one part of the equation. The other side is that my father, as he got older, my mother and my father, my mother's listening right now, I'm sure, as they got older, both of them got more lenient. And my brothers got away with a lot more stuff than I got away with because my parents got old, they got tired, and they got more lenient I ain't gonna go down that path right now, but there's some results of that we're wrestling with inside my family right now because my parents got too soft as they got older. So yes and no, Miles and Faraji. My father was to your question about whether my father was a better father for me or my younger siblings. I digress on that. You want to comment on that, Dr. Daniels? Is that anything relevant or anything that resonates with you in what I just said before I move on?
Absolutely. Our kids get different parts of ourselves based on where we are.
I like that. Yeah. Say that again. They get different parts of ourselves. Say it again.
Absolutely. Time to get different parts of ourselves as we live on.
Yeah.
Because we change and they're getting different parts of us as we change. So.
Wow. That explains it, dude. See, I give a long answer. He gave a short answer, and he's right. I should have gone with the short answer. Now my time is out. When we come forward in our final moments with Dr. Daniels, I do want to get back to this second part of this self-assessment test that I took last night, a part of the book. Once again, the book is called Present, The Crisis of American Fatherhood and the Power of Showing Up. This is called Listening to Your Inner Child, and there's some questions on this part of the self-assessment. We'll do that when we come forward on Tavis Smiley.
Why does Tavis say when we come forward? Because he's not going back. And you don't have to go back either. Forward ever, backward never. More of Tavis Smiley when we come forward.
Attention. If you owe money to the IRS, this is an urgent message. The IRS is cracking down by sending out collection letters, garnishing paychecks, seizing bank accounts, and putting liens on homes and businesses. They call it enforced compliance, and you better watch out because penalties and interest on unpaid taxes compound daily, making it even harder to get out of debt. Don't let tax debt destroy your life. You need to call Optima Tax Relief, America's #1 tax resolution firm. They're experts in taxpayer assistance programs that can save you thousands if you qualify. A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau, Optima's resolved over $1 billion of tax debt for their clients. Let them fight on your behalf, helping to put your tax problems to rest. Call now for a free consultation.
Call 800-919-9077. 800-919-9077. 800-919-9077.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
If you're like me, 60 and retired, making ends meet, especially here at the supermarket and drugstore, is tough. I'm so blessed to have found BenefitsCheckup.org. It's a free and confidential website from the National Council on Aging that connected me to $1,200 a year in programs that help pay for food, medicine, utilities, and more. Maybe it can help you. BenefitsCheckup.org.
You know where you want to go in life, and City National Bank can help. City National knows the dedication it takes to build your vision for the future into a reality, and our team is here for you. We have a wide range of options to help, from personal savings accounts to interest-bearing money market savings accounts and more, all designed to help you get where you want to go. City National, here for every stage of the journey. Learn more at cnb.com. City National Bank is a subsidiary of Royal Bank of Canada, member FDIC.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 reminds you, when we fight, we win. The Youth Justice Coalition is challenging America's addiction to incarceration and discrimination. YJC works to dismantle policies leading to mass incarceration, law enforcement violence, and the school-to-prison pipeline. Their approach? Transformative justice, community intervention, free LA high school, legal defense, and system monitoring. YJC promotes safety without relying on prisons. Their goal? Prevent system contact and help people exit the system through direct action, advocacy, and education. Want to get involved or need help? Call 323-235-4243. That's 323-235-4243. Join YJC in creating change. When we fight, we win. KBLA Talk 1580, your voice for justice. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Catch Prep is now enrolling for summer credit recovery in fall 2025. As South Los Angeles' top-performing high school in English, math, and college access, Catch Prep is welcoming all 9th through 12th graders to enroll now. Catch Prep offers a small, supportive, and safe learning environment to help all students succeed, so that all students feel valued, respected, and motivated to reach their full potential. For the past 20 years, Catch Prep has helped more students of color gain admission to top-tier universities, with our graduating seniors earning a total of $3 million in scholarships, more than any other school in Los Angeles. We are dedicated to helping all students turn your college dreams into reality. Catch Prep is now enrolling. Visit us online at catchhighschool.com or call 323-293-3917. Space is limited. Please enroll now for summer credit recovery and fall 2025. Call 323-293-3917 or enroll today at catchhighschool.com.
Helping to make you the most knowledgeable person in your circle of friends. This is Tavis Smiley.
Tavis Smiley and Dr. Charles C. Daniels. His new book is called Present, The Crisis of American Fatherhood and the Power of Showing Up. My time is getting tight, 4 minutes left. Let me just run through right quick some of the questions, some of the issues that are raised in this second part of this test, self-assessment called Listening to Your Inner Child. Name your inner child, characteristics of the inner child, your joys. Spend time with your inner child. You define masculinity. The father you envision, your angels. Remember those shoulders. Say it aloud. Don't compare yourself to others. Always try again. But all of these headers I've just read to you have exercises underneath them. I just gave you the headers. What is the purpose then of this part of the test, Dr. Daniels, called Listening to Your Inner Child?
Yeah, you asked about assumption earlier, Tavis, and I think one assumption that we make as adults is that when we get older, the children we were leave because we're older. And listen to your inner child is acknowledging that that child you were when you were younger is still with you, even in your adulthood. And as you're working to be a better parent to other people, you have to learn how to parent yourself. So there are whole portions about getting reacquainted with the child you were, so you'll never neglect them again.
Yep.
And that's the goal of that whole system. I believe the more you're able to parent that child, the better off you'll be able to parent your children and be healthier for yourself.
Yep. What gives you the most joy when you see a father that you're working with go from being absent to being present? Put another way, what is the power, the joy you see in these fathers showing up?
Wow. I think the joy, one of the most, I would say the best, the most compelling joy is that they love themselves again. I think that's the most important piece, when you found the love that you've lost and you can actually show that to yourself and to your loved ones. For me, that's my biggest joy.
Wow. I didn't see that answer coming. So you're telling me that when they reconnect with their babies, these joy bundles that they help bring into the world, they find a way to love themselves even more?
Absolutely. And Tavis, it's strange when I tell people all the time, when a man leaves or absence occurs, they leave because they love their kids so much. They just don't like the failure that they think they are. And for me, that's the struggle that we have to reconcile when we think about re-engaging dads back into their kids' lives. You're not a failure. You just made mistakes. And that's what love is, right? You make mistakes and you get back up again.
So I think the conclusion of the whole matter is that being present is possible. Yes? Dr. Daniels?
Yes, for sure. Being present is possible and it's imperfect.
Yeah. Why you say imperfect?
Because you're not going to be good at being present all the time.
Yeah.
Sometimes you're going to be present and be your worst self, but present is all about being good and being your worst self and coming back to the table.
Yeah.
So I think we just got this whole conception. We had this misconception about what it means to be present. We don't got to be perfect to be present. We just got to try.
Yeah. Charles C. Daniels, Jr., Ph.D., is the co-founder and CEO of Fathers Uplift, a nonprofit organization that provides mental health counseling, coaching, and advocacy to assist fathers with overcoming barriers and obstacles that prevent them from remaining engaged in their children's lives. He grew up outside of Atlanta, graduated from Bethune-Cookman, holds a Ph.D. in clinical social work from the Simmons University School of Social Work, and a master's in divinity from the Boston University School of Theology. He's got it all, and he gave it all to us in this hour, as he did in his book, Present, The Crisis of American Fatherhood and the Power of Showing Up. I enjoyed this conversation immensely, Dr. Daniels. Thank you for your work and your witness, sir, and I thank you for this conversation.
Thank you so much, Tavis. Appreciate you.
Good to have you on. Appreciate you, man. Just like that, 3 hours gone. Back here tomorrow, Lord willing, do it all over again. Until tomorrow, thanks for listening to Tavis Smiley. And as always, keep the faith.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Bree Wood with BIN News Now. A black man from Michigan was arrested after allegedly calling in a fake bomb threat to Spirit Airlines for missing his flight.
We have a situation, so we have